Here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacalyn. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacalyn.com to book an appointment today.
Hello and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, live here on Business Talk Radio every Friday at 5 o'clock. And hello to our friends on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. I am very happy to welcome back Annie Larson. Medium Annie Larson is a psychic medium. She is a master Reiki healer. She's a yoga instructor. She is an expert in numerology as well as astrology, and she was recently featured in the Washington Post. Let's bring up her article so that we can just take a peek at it before we bring her from backstage. Annie, welcome to the program. It's great to see you again from Virginia.
Thanks for having me back. It's good to see you too.
It's a pleasure. We've worked together before, and I've always enjoyed our time, and you're just helping people in so many ways. So I thank you for that.
Thank you.
So since we last met, you just were featured this week in the Washington Post, and I know it's for another part of your business, not your psychic mediumship, but it's really more focused with numerology and astrology. Is that correct?
That's correct. But the psychic part always comes in.
And so how did it feel to be called for yet another interview?
It was fun. I actually had a lot of fun. The Washington Post, John Kelly had gotten in touch with me and asked me if I would look at the numerology of DC's new area code 771. It's an unusual request because normally when you're doing numerology, you look at people and you look at their names maybe, or you look at their birth date. So looking at an area code was unusual, but I was happy to help.
It sounds fascinating. I've never heard of anything like that before. So kudos to you for providing that insight. Anything that you want to share as a result of that interview? Sure.
Yeah, it was kind of fun being with the mathematicians and professors, and then little old psychic medium me. So when I did the astrology or the numerology of 771, and I brought in astrology into it and including tarot cards, because I was looking at all numbers. And what I concluded was that adding all the numbers together, you actually get a master path of 6. And 6 is all about, healing and health and emotions and things like that. And then I looked at just looking at the numbers 771, and 7 is a foundational number, meaning it's about business and things like that. And 1 is a new beginnings. So I think the most interesting part coming up with 771 and 6 as the master path, that if you look at DC becoming the 51st state, which was something 2 days earlier, I kept pinging on because of the burden that DC has for the inauguration. They were talking about in the news how there's this great burden. It's going to be really expensive for the next inauguration because of COVID-19 and social distancing, and then all of the unrest that's around too. So when I looked at the 51st state, I was thinking, wow, they really should become a state. I was pinging on that it would help them financially to deal with maybe the inauguration and some of the other things that they do. And when I looked at 51st, 5 and 1 is also 6. So we also have a 6 number there. So for me, it kind of makes sense. And I think that DC probably with 771 becoming the area code later on in 2001 or 2002, I think that we'll start looking at maybe statehood for DC.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. A completely different out of the box concept that I think really shows how talented you are.
Well, I don't know about that, but it was a lot of fun to look at the numbers and to look at the numbers in such an unusual way.
I really love it. So, Annie, as you know, our program is all about hope and inspiration and helping people overcome adversity. And you and I have known each other for a long time. And what I think is really tremendous about you is you've been a big influence on me and my business and what I'm doing. But it's also the evolution of your business, right? You have these innate talents and skills, but you've been able to parlay that into having this robust business that has really grown over time. And I think, I'm a big advocate for women-owned businesses. And not only are you this talented person who really helps other people connect with loved ones, but you are also a business owner. And so my question for you is, for people who are watching or listening, what is that like to be your business, but you still have to run your business?
Yeah. That's the tough part. Right before we came on, I was watching you producing, and that not only are you the host and the producer and, your chief cook and bottle washer. So we as business owners do everything. You do the accounting in the evenings, and you do your own advertising and where you're going to be advertising, and doing the analysis of, what works, what doesn't work. There's a lot too. I mean, it's still a business. And I think a lot of people who are in my profession may have the psychic mediumship part, but may not have the business part of it to keep it running. I was fortunate when I went to school to study business management, and I love business. I love the workings of business. I love talking about business. I love everything about business. So not only is there the pleasure of being able to do what I love, but also enjoy it, except for the accounting part. I despise that. Numbers, you think I would enjoy it with numbers, but no, it's too left brain for me.
Well, so that's not in your lane, and so
No.
Just accept it and maybe get someone to help you with it.
Right.
And you bring up a lot of really good points, because for those people who are out there working in a job maybe they're not happy with, or people who want to start their own business, it is difficult. It takes a lot of commitment, but I think it's that passion, that thrill that you're actually waking up every day and doing something that you want to do. What do you think about that?
It absolutely is passion, because when you look at doing what you love, first off, it's not work. And you really do work almost 24/7, because you're always doing something for your business. But it doesn't feel like work. Right now, I'm doing a series of blogs on short stories about my experiences as a child and into my teens and my 20s, about ghost stories, quote unquote ghosts. And it's been my experiences with spirit throughout my lifetime. And then about 10 years ago, I was fortunate enough to start getting spirit showing up in pictures. So I plan to start sharing those too on my blog. But it's a labor of love. I'm writing this blog because I want to share my experiences, and maybe other people have had these experiences, and they could say, wow, I had that, and it's not so unusual. So it helps normalize maybe how they're feeling.
And that's another great point, that you're being the voice for other people to come forward and share their stories.
Yeah. Everybody has stories. I think everybody has had a spirit encounter. They have had synchronicities or coincidences, and they're not really. It's, maybe spirit's trying to communicate with them. And it's just trying to make what I do as a medium a very normal thing.
Would you share with our audience what exactly a psychic is, what a medium is, and what an intuitive is?
Sure. So an intuitive is really getting things for yourself. You're kind of tapping into yourself and intuitively doing things. We all follow our intuition. It's your gut. Oh, I have this gut feeling, or maybe you walk into a room and you get a chill and your hair stands up. That's your intuition telling you maybe this isn't a good place for you to be. Or you meet somebody and you just get a bad vibe from them. That's your intuition telling you maybe don't hang around this person. And then psychic is getting things from other people. And there's different ways of doing this, but when you get things from other people, you may sit down next to somebody, maybe at a bus stop, or you're on the subway, not now, of course, but earlier. And you sit next to them and maybe you feel their pain. Maybe you know how sad they are, or maybe you get a flash of what they're going through. And so that's the psychic. You start getting information from other people. The mediumship is actually having a communication with spirit, a departed loved one, on the other side. It's not just sensing somebody there. It's actually bringing them forward and having a conversation with them, which feels like you're both underwater trying to communicate. So the communication can be a little bit interesting at times, because sometimes I feel like I'm playing charades with spirit.
And you and I have talked about this before, but given that you have these incredible talents and that people are reaching out to you, how do you turn it off if it's always there? So when I think about you running the business, you being the business, and you having these incredible skills and talents, it seems like it could be exhausting.
Yeah, I'm human. I'm like everybody else. I get tired when I have a lot of readings, and I also teach. I normally teach in the mornings, and then I do readings all afternoon. And in the evenings, I may have appearances, or I'm doing my accounting. I'm human. We get tired. Spirit is always around us, me. It really isn't a burden for that. It's not like they're bothering me all the time. Things come up. I'm always open. I don't believe in shutting down. I'm not quite sure I could shut down, but it's not a burden. It really is who I am and just what I'm like. I always liken it to if somebody was born blind and they never saw, they couldn't tell you what it was like to be blind, or to not have sight. They wouldn't think about that. They would just be living their lives, in it, however they were born.
That makes a lot of sense. That's a very different perspective. I appreciate that. So during this period of time with COVID, you still are doing your readings and you still are having meetings with people, but you're doing everything remotely, I would guess.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. And you have a phenomenal website, which I am showing across the screen right now, Medium Annie Larson. And what I love about your website is everything is right there. Somebody doesn't have to go anywhere else to find out information about how you can help them. They can just go right there. So it's a congratulations for making something that's so accessible to everyone.
Thank you.
So in the course of your career, you've done a number of different things, and we've talked about this before in other programs. But as I mentioned at the top of the show, what I'm just so proud of for you is the fact that you've taken your business and you've made it into something really incredible. And you have all these speaking engagements. So I'd really like for you to share with our audience who's thinking about going into their own business or has a business and the business is kind of stagnant. How can they grow, prosper, expand? What are the secrets, the keys that they need to do?
First off, have a passion for what you do. Passion will lead you very far. The second thing would be have a business plan. Sit down and figure out a 1 year, a 5 year, a 10 year. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to be? Where do you envision yourself? The other thing too is find the experts. Find the experts who can help you, like me with accounting. Find the people that can help you do the things that you don't do well or don't want to do. And second is network, 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 network. Network as much as you possibly can with as many people as you possibly can.
All really good key pieces of advice. Thank you. And the fact that we are all about hope and inspiration, when someone loses a loved one or someone very close to them, you really are helping them with hope and inspiration. Can you share with us, what does a typical, I don't know if you would call it an appointment or reading, but what would that look like for someone who's out there watching the show who thinks, you know what, I'm going to contact her, I'm wondering what I should expect?
Okay, so what you should expect, and I'll go to a reading that I did just this past week without using names or anything like that, because everything's very confidential. I never talk about my readings, or I may talk about situations in readings, but I'll never reveal names or anything like that. But normally right now I'm doing telephone readings, and I choose telephone over Skype or Zoom or whatever, because I really like not seeing you. I think it's easier for me to just kind of tap in and not have to worry about background noise and what's going on. And, it can be difficult at times. So from there, I'm just going to tap in. I have a way of tapping in, and then I'm asking Spirit to come close and talk to me, to have a conversation. And then I bring through evidence from your loved one. I ask them to bring me unusual things that maybe only my client would know, so that they can go, yes, that really is my dad, or that really is. I had one, in fact, it's kind of funny because I was getting ready to do the Washington Post interview, and I was working all with numbers. And so I always have my notebook for my readings, and I kept getting 27. I said, oh, that goes with this reading. So I wrote down 27th. I knew it was a date. It was either a birth date or a death date. And then I got more information from there. So throughout the day, I tend to get information, but I don't want to bring it in until the reading. So when I started this session, I said, I have a man stepping forward. I keep hearing dad, 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 and I'm getting the 27th. And I know that the 27th is either a birth date or a death date. Well, her dad had passed, and he had passed on the 27th. Wow. And then his name actually came through. I'm going to make up a name so I don't use the name. But I said, I keep getting a B name like Bob. He went by Bob. And then I said, or it could be, and she goes, yeah, he was Bob. Oh. It went even further from there, because I said, she had a child, and I said, you have a child that you had, and you were, you named the child after your dad, and it's either a first name or a middle name. And she had guilt because on her father's deathbed, she had promised to name the child she was carrying after her dad, and she didn't.
Oh my.
And so she had this guilt, and I said, oh, don't worry about it. Because what I hear is that you're going to call this child Bob, or Bob is going to come through again. And I said, I think maybe through, a bar mitzvah, I actually said a confirmation, Catholic confirmation, that maybe they'll take St. Robert, and then you'll actually have the Bob in the name. And that's what I'm hearing. So don't feel guilty at all about not naming your child Bob, because your dad has no feelings about that. He's fine with it.
That's really beautiful. It sounds like you really brought so much comfort and peace and closure to your client.
Well, I think that's what I want to do. That's what we're here. That's what mediums are here to do. That's how we serve, is to, that guilt that people carry is just so worthless. And it really doesn't bring you any happiness and joy. And your loved ones would never want you to be that upset. They would never want you to carry that guilt. So it does. I think it helps relieve that type of grief, and people move on. We all need to move on.
Yes, that's a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing that. We
Sure.
are going to take a break and hear some messages from some of our friends who are sponsors, and we will be right back. Stay with us. We have Medium Annie Larson on our program today. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAP partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAP partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Academy Sedan and Limo is a full-service transportation company serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area with full knowledge of the New York City, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. We pride ourselves on being the most dependable, conscientious company in the industry. Our always on-time service and dependable pricing make us the company to call for any event or occasion. Our vehicles can accommodate any size party for any occasion. Our vehicles range from four-door sedans to SUVs to minivans to limo buses to full-size tour buses and can accommodate groups of 2 to 100. We offer airport shuttle service or over-the-road service without limitation regarding mileage or time, and no drive is too long or too far. So if you find yourself in need of transportation of any type with any vehicle, give us a call at 610-842-4564 and let us show you what a real transportation company can do for you.
Make a bold statement by wearing a custom jewelry design from Margie Cedrone, Artisan Jeweler, located at 121 Haddon Avenue in Westmont, New Jersey. Telephone number 215-384-7155. Margie Cedrone is an artisan jeweler who has been a permanent fixture on the renowned Jewelers Row in Center City, Philadelphia since 1988. Starting her business in 1982, All of Margie's designs are individually handmade as well as custom design. She's one of the only jewelers left in the area who still crafts the finest tailor-made diamond jewelry, whether it's a statement piece or an everyday item. In addition to her one-of-a-kind designs, she specializes in pearl stringing and bead jewelry repairs. Margie Cedrone Jewelry pairs nearly 30 years of experience with the building of lifelong client relationships. Dr. Jacalyn has been a client and friend of Margie Cedrone for many, many years. Each week during my show, Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, live on Business Talk Radio, I will be featuring one of the beautiful pieces of jewelry that Margie custom made for me. I urge you to contact Margie through her website, margiecedronejewelry.com. Wait no longer to make your own bold statement.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacalyn. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacalyn.com to book an appointment today.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. The most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, here live on Business Talk Radio, Facebook Live, and also YouTube Live. With me today is Medium Annie Larson from Virginia. It is a pleasure to see you. Thanks for sticking around through the break. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So, Annie, when we were before we went to the break, we were talking about the fact that people need hope, they need inspiration, they've lost a loved one. And what you really do so well is you help bring peace, you help bring closure. How does that feel? It must be amazing.
I don't think I take it in. I mean, I'm happy to serve. I hope that people find the peace that they need. But I don't really take things in personally. I'm happy I do a good job. But as far as, I just don't take readings in. They're not for me. And so as soon as I do a reading, I tend to let it go and forget it. So all that sorrow and everything that came in isn't part of my energy, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like you are aware of the fact that you have this talent and this skill, but yet at the same time, it could really deplete you emotionally if after every reading you were emotionally engaged. So it sounds like you have a very professional outlook and approach to it.
Yeah, there are times, a few years ago, I had a lot of readings in one day, and they were all either murders or suicides. And it was hard. That was very difficult, because one of the things that Spirit does, they take me through their death process. So not only will I see it, but I get to experience it too. So I'll feel it in my body. I'll see things that they saw. So that can be really difficult. Those readings are hard. So a lot of the murder cases that I have, they're unsolved. People are looking for answers. Those are really, really tough. And so when life gets to me in that way, when readings get to me in that way, then I take myself off the schedule for a little bit. There was a point a couple of years ago when I had that really, really hard day. I really thought about stopping, about quitting. It was hard.
I can't even imagine. Have you worked with law enforcement agencies when there have been murders? Have they reached out to you to see if you could help solve the case?
I do things through email. So I'll get emails about people. I might get texts from other mediums who are looking for help. Most of them are anonymous, or they come through my medium friends. I give the information and I pass it along. I don't get involved with it. I don't really know. They may just give me a first name. They may give me a state. They may give me a picture. A lot of times I just get a picture. And so it's, what do you get from this picture? And I share whatever I get. And so I normally don't know if the case is solved unless it's from one of my medium friends and they tell me, oh, the case is solved or whatever.
It's really fascinating. I like to spend a few minutes talking about some of the other things that you do to help people. And you have training, mentoring, you're a master Reiki healer. Can you talk to some of those things for us?
In what capacity? Just the teaching?
So in other words, people who are watching our show and they go to your website and they see you have all these incredible talented services and they're interested in Reiki. What is Reiki and how can that help them?
Reiki is just channeling the life force energy. So it's just bringing healing to people. I believe we're all healers. So it's just channeling this particular, let's say it's like plugging in a lamp. You know, you don't know how the electricity works, but you plug it in and you get light. Or Wi-Fi is another good one too, that when you're somewhere and you always want to know someone's Wi-Fi password because you want to plug in. Reiki's kind of the same thing. You're plugging into this channel of healing and channeling it to your client. I do teach Reiki. I certify people in Reiki healing. And I also teach classes. One of the fun classes that I'm teaching right now is the intuitive class. So it's a lot of fun. People are drawn to it because everybody wants to tap in for themselves. They want to know, how can I tap in, make these great decisions, and trust what I get? That's probably the biggest thing I teach is, how do you learn how to trust yourself, calm your mind, and tap in so that you can make these great decisions for yourself. And so you don't need a psychic medium.
So in other words, people who are taking the course, they don't have to have any skills in that regard, but you're teaching them how to trust their intuition and what's inside them. Is that correct?
That's correct. But I do believe we're all intuitive. I think every last one of us has intuition. I don't think we're devoid of intuition. Everybody has it.
It's just a matter of following it, I guess.
Following it, trusting it, but that's really trusting it. So it's a really fun class to do. I used to teach in person, but now I'm on Zoom, and I've had some fun people come in. I had one student from Singapore, so that was a lot of fun to teach somebody from so far away. So doing classes on Zoom and Skype has been broadening, so to speak, into other countries and stuff.
I think that is one thing that's, I know people are sick of Zoom in a lot of ways, but for me, during the pandemic, I got my yoga sculpt certification, and Monday I just started taking meditation teacher training certification on Zoom. So it is neat, and you get to see people from all over, as you were just mentioning. So for people who are watching and they are looking for alternatives to medication, it sounds like Reiki could be a great alternative. It sounds like taking this course that you have where you're learning to trust your intuition, learning to believe in yourself, that could really be good for someone as well.
Absolutely. But I don't think it replaces. I don't think that any of these are meant to replace. So I'm not a doctor. I don't practice medicine. I practice healing. I think it's in conjunction with. So some of the things that Reiki is really good for, people going through cancer treatments, people with anxiety, dealing with anxiety, people, sleep problems. So there's specific things that are really good for Reiki, and they've studied it. The Mayo Clinic and Georgetown, all these places have studied Reiki, and they actually have it in their own hospitals now, where people come by, the nurses are trained to do Reiki and come by and actually do healing. So I think it's all works with each other. I don't think you replace. I would never tell somebody, quit taking a medication or quit going to your doctor and just come see me. That doesn't make any sense.
And it's interesting because, as you and I have discussed, I'm on a number of medications for my autoimmune illnesses, and I am not going off them. But I do know people who have stopped their medication and they've gone completely the other way. And in some cases, really good results, and in some cases,
not so good results.
Not so much. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on, if your mind is strong enough and you have tools, you have meditation, you have Reiki, you have all these different things, can you self-heal?
I absolutely believe we can self-heal. I look to the yogis. If you look at the yogis like Satchidananda, some of the really, great yogis of our lifetime, the Maharaji, they could take poison and not die. So they said, really, it's your mind that's taking this in. So I do believe that we can self-heal. I think it's been proven. And in fact, probably yoga is what I would look for if you really want to get control of your mind and control of your own healing. I think yoga would probably, and Reiki would be another one too. These would all be in conjunction with each other. I know you're a yoga teacher, and so am I.
And I think yoga has changed my life. I've been practicing for 20 years, I think. And we certainly know every day different people are trying yoga. They hadn't tried it before. And I think sometimes people think that yoga is power yoga or yoga in 110 degrees, and they're the only options. But yet there are so many different types of yoga. And I believe you actually went to India. Is that correct?
Yeah, I spent a month in India.
What was that experience like?
Oh, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. India is a beautiful country, spiritually lifted. I actually went on a spiritual trip and stayed at a friend of mine's home. So I really got to have the experience of family there. It was absolutely wonderful. And it gave me such a much better understanding of yoga, because yoga is practiced there everywhere. It's not like it is in the United States. The United States is more about asana, the poses, and, losing weight. And, yoga means union. It should be about how do you, get control of your mind to have that union, to realize who you really are.
And thank you for bringing that awareness, because to your point, there are different philosophies about yoga. And I think as you go around the world, you find that it's revered differently. And here in the States, I don't think, to your point, that it's the same as it would be in India or other places, but it is powerful mentally, physically, spiritually. And I think when we talk about inspiration, hope, overcoming adversity, yoga is definitely at the top of my list for recommendations for people.
And yogis live the longest. They're doing studies on nuns and yogis because they live the longest, because they know how to deal with their body. They probably live a much healthier lifestyle.
I've actually been in yoga classes where there were people practicing. One class, there were 3 people, and they were in their late 80s. It was tremendous. And they're so flexible and so strong. And just, you look at them and think, oh my gosh, I'm not going to stop practicing yoga.
Ever. Well, look at Dow. I think she finally passed at 101, 102. She had been a yoga teacher since she was 8 years old. Incredible.
Absolutely incredible. It's also incredible that our show, we've passed over our time. We could just keep talking.
Yes.
We were always learning so much from you, and I definitely want to have you back again. Your website, mediumannielarson.com, is the best way to reach you.
It is.
And as a personal friend who's known Annie for years, she is the real deal. And she definitely has been an inspiration to me, as I've mentioned many times. A lot of the reason why I went out on my own and started Dr. Jacalyn LLC was because of a reading that she did for me and watching what she's done with her career. So I hope that it becomes something that people out there are inspired by, and that you want to go and start your own business, or that you want to take your business to the next level. So Annie, thank you again for being with us. It's been a true delight.
Thank you so much. And I wish you much continued and great success yourself. You're growing too like crazy. I love that you're on Facebook now and YouTube, and you're ready to continue your journey.
Well, thank you, Annie. I'll be in touch, and I'll see you later, Annie. Stay with us. So to everyone watching Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, I just have a request that you would subscribe to our YouTube page and like us on Facebook. And the reason being, it helps us get the word out that we now are having this professional production. And we are also always on Business Talk Radio. So grateful to Business Talk Radio for this opportunity. So we're going to leave you today and going to take us out with a commercial from a good friend. And I hope that you will join us again next week live on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. Stay well, stay tuned, and look forward to seeing you again.
Have you just lost your job or have been laid off and you are looking to transition to a new job or career? Maybe you have even tried submitting tons of applications and yet you keep getting turned down for jobs you qualify for. Don't wait until you become overwhelmed with rejections when you can easily transition or get your dream job. Let MJW Careers guide you to the right career path and a better, brighter future. At MJW Careers, we know what hiring managers are looking for, and our goal is to land you the job you deserve. What makes MJW Careers a wonderful provider over other services is our pragmatic and scientific approach to resume writing. There are rules, there are visual cues, there are content best practices. We understand those and work within the boundaries to ensure our clients' messaging appeals to the decision makers. Our career consultants will help you transition into new roles quickly and effectively. With our experience in virtually every industry, we will provide direction in the frustrating job market by helping you write a customized, professional resume and prepare you for your interview as well. Join the great number of people we have helped scale up to greater things in their careers. Let us help you on your career journey. Come visit us, www.jobstickers.com, to learn more and grab a free resume review or ebook.